Buddha's Teachings, chapter 3, part 1, Building a Buddha Land, the Harmony of Brotherhood. Let us imagine a desert country lying in absolute darkness with many living things swarming blindly about in it. Naturally, they will be frightened, and as they run about without recognizing one another during the night, there will be frequent squirming and loneliness. This is indeed a pitiful sight. Then let us imagine that suddenly a superior man with a torch appears and everything around becomes bright and clear. The living beings in the dark solitude suddenly find a great relief as they look about to recognize one another and happily share their companionship. By a desert country is meant a world of human life when it lies in the darkness of ignorance. Those who have no light of wisdom in their minds wander about in loneliness and fear. They were born alone and die alone. They do not know how to associate with their fellow man in peaceful harmony, and they are naturally despondent and fearful. By a superior man with torch is meant Buddha assuming a human form, and by his wisdom and compassion he illumines the world. In this light, people find themselves as well as others and are glad to establish human fellowship and harmonious relations. Thousands of people may live in a community, but it is not one of real fellowship until they know each other and have sympathy for one another. A true community has faith and wisdom that illuminate it. It is a place where the people know and trust one another and where there is social harmony. In fact, harmony is the life and real meaning of a true community or an organization. Of organizations, there are three kinds. First, there are those who are organized on the basis of the power, wealth, or authority of great leaders. Second, there are those that are organized because of its convenience to the members, which will continue to exist as long as the members satisfy their conveniences and do not quarrel. Third, there are those that are organized with some good teaching as its center and harmony as its very life. Of course, the third or last of these is the only true organization, for in it the members live in one spirit from which the unity of spirit and various kinds of virtue will arise. In such an organization, there will prevail harmony, satisfaction, and happiness. Enlightenment is like rain that falls on a mountain and gathers into rivulets that run into brooks and then into rivers, which finally flow into the ocean. The rain of the sacred teaching falls on all people alike without regard to their conditions or circumstances. Those who accept it gather into small groups, then into organizations, then into communities, and finally find themselves in the great ocean of enlightenment. The minds of these people mix like milk and water and finally organize into a harmonious brotherhood. Thus, the true teaching is the fundamental requirement of a perfect organization, and as mentioned above, it is the light which enables people to recognize one another, to become adjusted to one another, and to smooth out the rough places in their thinking. Thus, the organization that is formed on the perfect teachings of Buddha can be called a brotherhood. They should observe these teachings and train their minds accordingly. Thus, the Buddha's brotherhood will theoretical include everyone, but in fact, only those who have the same religious faith are members. The Buddha's brotherhood will have two types of members. There will be those who are teaching the lay members and those who are supporting the teachers. by offering the needed food and clothing. They together will disseminate and perpetuate the teaching. Then, to make the brotherhood complete, there must be perfect harmony among the members. The teachers teach the members, and the members honor the teachers so, so that there can be harmony between them. Members of the Buddha's brotherhood should associate together with affectionate sympathy, being happy to live together with fellow followers and seeking to become one in spirit. There are 6 things that will help to lead a brotherhood to harmony. They are: first, sincerity of speech; second, sincerity and kindness of action; third, sincerity and sympathy of spirit; fourth, equal sharing of common property; fifth, following the same pure precepts; and sixth, all having right views. Among these things, the sixth, or all having right views, forms the nucleus, with the other 5 serving as wrappings for it. There are 2 sets of 7 rules to be followed if the brotherhood is to be a success. The first is, as a group, they should gather together frequently to listen to the teachings and to discuss them. They should mingle freely and respect one another. They should revere the teaching and respect the rules and not change them. Elder and younger members are to treat each other with courtesy. They should let sincerity and reverence mark their bearing. They should purify their minds in a quiet place, which they should nevertheless offer to others before taking it for themselves. They should love all people, treat visitors cordially, and console the sick with kindness. A brotherhood that follows these rules will never decline. The second is individuality. Each should maintain a pure spirit and not ask for too many things. Maintain integrity and remove all greed. Be patient and not argue. Keep silent and not talk idly. Submit to the regulations and not be overbearing. Maintain an even mind and not follow different teachings, and be thirsty and frugal in daily living. If its members follow these rules, the brotherhood will endure and never decline. As mentioned above, a brotherhood should maintain harmony in its very essence. Therefore, one without harmony cannot be called a brotherhood. Each member should be on guard not to be the cause of discord. If discord appears, it should be removed as early as possible, for discord will soon ruin any organization. Bloodstains cannot be removed by more blood. Resentment cannot be removed by more resentment. Resentment can be removed only by forgetting it. Once there was a king named Calamity, whose country was conquered by a neighboring warlike king named Brahmadatta. King Calamity, after hiding with his wife and son for a time, was captured, but fortunately his son, the prince, could escape. The prince tried to find some way of saving his father, but in vain. On the day of his father's execution, the prince, in disguise, made his way into the execution ground, where he could do nothing but watch in mortification the death of his ill-fated father. The father noticed his son in the crowd and muttered, as if talking to himself, "Do not search for a long time. Do not act hastily. Resentment can be calmed only by forgetting it." Afterward, the prince sought after some way of revenge for a long time. At last, he was employed as an attendant in a Brahmadatta palace and came to win the king's favors. On a day when the king went hunting, the prince sought some opportunity for revenge. The prince was able to lead his master into a lonely place, and the king, being very weary, fell asleep with his head on the lap of the prince. so fully had he come to trust the prince. The prince drew his dagger and placed it at the king's throat, but then hesitated. The words his father had expressed at the moment of his execution flashed into his mind, and although he tried again, he could not kill the king. Suddenly, the king awoke and told the prince that he had had a bad dream in which the son of King Calamity was trying to kill him. The prince, flourishing the danger in his hand, hastily grasped the king and, identifying himself as the son of King Calamity, declared that the time had finally come for him to avenge his father. Yet he could not do so, and suddenly he cast his dagger down and fell on his knees in front of the king. When the king heard the prince's story and the final words of his father, he was very impressed and apologized to the prince. Later, he restored the former kingdom to the prince, and their two countries came to live in fellowship for a long time. The dying words of King Calamity, "Do not search for a long time," mean that resentment should not be cherished for long, and "do not act hastily," mean that fellowship should not be broken hastily. Resentment cannot be satisfied by resentment, it can only be removed by forgetting it. In the fellowship of a brotherhood that is based on the harmony of right teaching, every member should always appreciate the spirit of this story. Not only the members of the brotherhood, but also people in general should appreciate and practice this spirit in their daily lives. Hari Om Tat Sat.